Hello, my name is Jonathan Stoll. I'm from Paston College and my candidate number is 37465. This is my video blog to show my evaluation of our product. I thought it would be more interesting to show you stills from our film rather than just me talking.
In what ways does your product use, develop or challenge codes and conventions of real media products? The genre we chose to explore for our film was crime, and more specifically a gangster film. We wanted the opening sequence to use and pay homage to great crime and gangster films. Our main inspirations were the film Snatch, released in 2000, and the director Quentin Tarantino. We strongly admired the opening scene from Snatch and desperately wanted to include many of the techniques used for that innovative scene. We did this by including regular freeze frames throughout, and when these happened, we changed the colour of the shot so people would identify that the freeze frames were something to take notice of. We also had a close-up freeze frame of each of the actors, and when this happened, the character's name would appear on the screen for the duration of the freeze frame. I feel that this gives our film a very British gangster film feel. Now, our biggest influence is my inspiration and hero, Quentin Tarantino, who also expertly blends non-linear dialogue with intriguing camera angles to create a superb verisimilitude. So we thought we would try some of his techniques to really cement our film as a great gangster film. We did this by having voiceovers that were heard when the freeze frames were occurring on screen. Tarantino has used many voiceovers in the past, most notably in Kill Bill and Inglourious Basterds. We also feel that the dialogue used in the film has some Tarantino-esque moments, as the character speaking mentions popular culture such as the Witch of Eastwick, something Tarantino is famous for. All this being said, I feel that the moment which pays homage to Tarantino the most is the scene where our characters open the boot of the car. This is because when they did this it was filmed from inside the boot, looking up at the characters. Tarantino is so famous for this that it is even called a Tarantino boot shot. We didn't just follow all the codes and conventions of gangster films, we challenged them too. We did this because in films such as Goodfellas, Reservoir Dogs and Snatch, all the gangsters are male. To challenge this, we included a violent female character that challenged the men and stood up to them. We did this because out of all the crime films, only 3 characters really challenge this: the eponymous Jackie Brown, the bride from Kill Bill, and Shoshana Dreyfus from Inglourious Basterds. All of these come from the mind of the brilliant Tarantino, who we made another reference to with the female's name, Mia. How does your product represent particular social groups? Our film has 3 characters, Marv, Frank and Mia, all of which are ruthless gangsters who will kill pretty much anyone if the price is high enough. We didn't want all men in our film, so we used a very strong female character by the name of Mia, who is really the person who drives the narrative forward, as without her there would be no rupture in the equilibrium of the film. Mia also acts as if she is in charge. This vastly challenges the theory of the male gaze. The male gaze is a theory in which women are only in films for the purpose of men, and it is for this reason that we made her the most important part of the opening sequence. In gangster films, the usual class of the characters ranges from sometimes working class, down on their luck people who do these terrible things to earn a living. Some of them are middle class who want a more meaningful life, and sometimes very rich people who have worked their way up the ladder of murder and corruption, like Henry Hill in Goodfellas or Jordan Belfort in The Wolf of Wall Street. Our film, however, we made the characters working class who do these things in order to keep a roof over their head. We did this because we presumed that the people most likely to watch our film would fit into the demographics of C2 to D, people who are working class, down on their luck, who can relate to the characters of our film. What kind of media institution might distribute your product and why? What production company would you use to sell your film? Due to our film being an incredibly low-budget student film, we figured that no big company would show our product. A company that is more independent might, however. We looked at A Band Apart and Columbia Pictures. These companies produced Pulp Fiction and Snatch, respectively. These companies might be more likely to show our film, as they are independent companies that only deal with movies, not music and games also, like some. The main institutions we are looking into are Facebook and YouTube, as they wouldn't charge us for putting our film onto their platforms. Even though we wouldn't be paid for this, the recognition for us and our film would hopefully be there. This would give many people the chance to view my film. Who would be the main audience for your product and why? Well, stereotypically, males would be our main audience for this film. However, this film includes a strong female character who is equal, if not more powerful than the male characters. So for that reason, I would say that our film would be good for both genders, as not one of the characters is presented as weak and vulnerable, like usual female characters in films like this are. There would, however, be an age limit. This is because of the adult themes of crime and murder, and use of strong language. Because of this, I believe that our film would be suitable for ages 15 and up, and would have an age rating which correlates with this. I would also say that our film's audience in terms of age would be anywhere between 15 to 35. I believe this because some people older than the latter might not get as much enjoyment out of it. However, there would of course be exceptions. After we research psychographics, I believe that the main audience in terms of psychographics would be the succeeder and the aspirer. I think that the succeeder would be a main target because they are confident, ambitious and heavily motivated, just like the criminals in our film. I also think the aspirer because they are known to be materialistic, and as money is a main theme in the crime genre, I think they could relate to this. How did you attract and address your audience? We attracted our audience in many different ways. These were the theme, soundtrack and characters. We also thought that if we have a screenplay with some snappy and Tarantino-esque dialogue, we could intrigue our audience. We thought that if we make a film with an interesting theme involving people who are down on their luck, who are making bad choices in order to keep a roof over their head, we could attract people who are around 20 to 30 years of age. There was, however, a slight problem with our original script, as all the dialogue we wanted to include couldn't be included, as there were heavy winds on the day that we were shooting. We instead got around this by using voiceovers, freeze frames and a classic song, which was Bad Moon Rising by Creedence Clearwater Revival. This could also be used to attract older audiences, as it made it feel like a classic gangster film, but with an updated twist. We also wanted our audience to relate to the characters, who were meant to be around 20 to 30. However, as this is a student film, we had to use actors who were slightly younger. However, we managed to work with what we had, and used guns and suits to set the tone of our film, and to make the actors seem older so that it fit with their characters' backstory. What have you learned about technologies from the process of constructing this film? I learnt a lot about technology while making our film. Most importantly was how to effectively use a camera. While I already knew how to use a camera to a good standard, the making of our film taught me all the ins and outs of using the camera to create meaningful and thought-provoking shots. If I hadn't have gained a good understanding of how to use a camera, the final draft of our film would look not as how we like. The next piece of equipment which I learned a lot from was the mics. We tried filming without a boom or a dead cat. We realised that the dialogue for the voiceovers then sounded tacky and rough. We then recorded the voiceovers with a boom stand and a dead cat, and it sounded crisp and clear. This showed me how important minor pieces of equipment can be. After we filmed, the piece of technology we relied on most was Adobe Premiere Pro. This is the software on which we applied all of our editing for our film. This was very important as we needed freeze frames, voiceovers and text over the shots. Thanks to Premiere, we were able to do all of this, and our film looked exactly how we wanted it. We also used After Effects to apply the colours over our shots, which are freeze frames. This gave our film the look of a classic British gangster film, which is what we were after. And it was thanks to all the technology that we had at our disposal that we were able to make our film exactly how we wanted. The last piece of technology that we used was YouTube. The use of this meant that we could show our film to a wide range of people when it was completed. Looking back at your preliminary task, what do you feel you have learned in the progression from it to the full product? The preliminary task was mainly based upon 3 camera techniques, so therefore the filming wasn't too difficult. Due to the aim being that we had to show off all 3 of the camera angles meant that the editing wasn't too complex either. So improving on the editing side of things was a big help, considering after the preliminary I still had little knowledge on that side of the process. Becoming a better editor makes the footage look crisper and more smooth. This makes the product look a lot more professional than it would have done. Over the course of writing out the more theoretical side of the coursework, my pieces of work have become more technical and analytical through my writing by using key terms when discussing certain topics in class. This makes my work more competent and intellectual. If my writing had stayed at the same level throughout, with little key terms and explanations, it would be at a very low standard.